Welcome to LollieTasking. I invite you to join me and other amazing and inspiring women discussing our passion, work, discovering our purpose, interesting topics, and how we seem to have it all together. I hope we can motivate you and show you you can do it too, with some planning, a little bit of balance, and a dash of determination. This is LollieTasking. Hello, LollieTaskers. I am your host, Dr. Lola, and I am excited you have joined us again on our monthly series, Afropolitan Health on LollieTasking. On these episodes, we dedicate the entirety of the show to a health topic in the spirit of renewing our body. My hope is by the end of the show, we would have educated you, empowered you, and motivated you to take action on your health. So today's show is actually dedicated to your mental health specifically during this COVID-19 crisis. Why is this important, you may ask? According to the World Health Organization, most people affected by emergencies will experience some kind of psychological distress. This is normal and will, for most people, improve over time. However, the prevalence of common mental disorders such as depression and anxiety are expected to more than double on a humanitarian crisis, which is why I have invited Dr. Tola T'Sarumi to discuss this with us. I am so honored to have you with us here, Dr. Tola.
Hi, nice to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for coming. So for you guys that don't know yet, Dr. Tola, you'll get to know her soon. Dr. Tola is a licensed psychiatrist. She's a fellow in addiction psychiatry at Harvard and an emotional wellness strategist who is passionate about women's issues, overcoming the stigmas associated with mental illness. Dr. Tola is also highly sought after. I'm like honored she even took us, to be honest. Dr. Tola is highly sought after and a recipient of numerous awards for her work on alcohol use disorder, physician suicide, and synthetic cannabinoid use. She's published in various medical journals and websites such as Medscape, just to name a few. When she's not wearing her medical hat on, she can catch her strolling the streets of Boston with her husband and her twin children. With that being said, let's get started, Dr. Tola. All right. So can you tell us, I gave a little summary, but the listeners, the LollieTaskers would like to hear from you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you actually even got into psychiatry to start off with?
So, like everyone, people have like family history in terms of your parents, your education, your background coming in. And for me, my family, everything's educational. That was really the path to take. And I've always wanted to be a doctor. Now, choosing psychiatry in itself was something I think that actually found me. Medicine was something I'd always wanted to do, so kind of went through the whole process, graduated from University of Georgia, and then
Go Dogs!
Yay, go Dogs! And went up to med school, and initially I actually started off wanting to do oncology, and again it had to do with my interactions with my patients and just my connections with them. And in the process during my psychiatry rotation, I felt like I had more of a greater connection, I think, with my patients. And I kind of look at it as, psychiatry, or literally we're talking about a disease of the mind, the brain, which is how I try and define it in simple terms. And as a psychiatrist, or as, just for me, my personal, I think psychiatry was just a way for me to interact more, connect with my patients in all fronts and levels. We're talking about emotional, psychological, the social aspects. So we kind of merge all and which intertwines in itself, and just being able to connect with them at all levels. So I feel like that was something that just sort of resonated with me. And then heading off to, of course, with the passion, and then family. I had an uncle who had addiction issues, and just how it was managed. And I just wanted to learn a little bit more, and hence going into alcohol, use disorders, this addiction, the substances, and hence my fellowship in addiction as well, just to get a better, like, be well prepared for the people out there. I mean, there's so much going on. We have the opioid epidemics right now. And so just being a part of it, and how to bring about healing, how to bring about reconnection, recovery to our patients. So I think, it found me, and I kind of just jumped at it back. I jumped at It's been a great journey. It's been an amazing journey so far. And so, yeah, I'm grateful for my journey thus far.
Oh, that's awesome. I think what's very amazing hearing you say that is in our community, both in the African American community and in the African community, there's a lot of stigma associated with mental health. And I think just having someone there's a minority being in that field, one, seeing people that look like them, one will help break a lot of that stigma. And and I also feel like there's a lot of distrust of the medical community based on past things that's happened. Obviously, you can totally blame our community having distrust for medicine, but I think having people like you in the forefront is very important. I appreciate you doing what you do.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
So, speaking about doing what you're doing, I love that you said mental health to you is described as disease of the mind and the brain. And I really love for people to think of it that way, because when you think of it as a disease, one, it breaks down a lot of that barrier that I was talking about a lot of time. And then it also lets you know that you need to seek help.
Yeah.
While we're not talking about mental health as a whole, because we would be here all day, there's so many facets of it. I want today to focus more on COVID-19 and how it's affected us as a community, personally, and as a whole. So just let's start with you. Like, how has it affected you yourself, and how has it affected your psychiatric practice?
So COVID-19, as we kind of hear it all around, this is this respiratory illness right there that is affecting and plaguing everyone, and the fear that has been put in. And for me as a person, it is kind of changing your norm, like what is normal,
Right.
the fact that we talk about, I mean, and psychiatry embodies this, which is a lot of connection with your patient, the touch, feel, and all of this. So this, of course, affects you as an individual. Even like when you have people around you and they're coughing, you're like literally turning your head. Who is coughing? Who's here?
Giving them the side that like,
Give them like, okay, should I be running away from you? But no, seriously, it's unfortunate what we're going through. It is a pandemic. It's important for us to be aware and to really adhere to the rules in terms of social distancing. In terms of practice right now, I think we've gone through I think everywhere right now, everyone is going telehealth, telepsych, especially if it's a private practice or even the communities as well. And we're all going, virtual, on telemedicine at this point in time. So I think that has been able to, hopefully, the whole idea is for that to kind of, flatten the curve and just, prevent the widespread as we're seeing it rampantly. So it affected me personally is just, I get given me a time to just kind of pause and just, appreciate life in a new way. I mean, not that I didn't before, but some things we just take for granted, going outside, just hanging with friends. You're like, okay, we can do this, but in a different way while still adhering to like the social distancing. The kids are home, they're not in school. So it kind of also gives you some time with them in a way, but when you still have to work, it gets complicated. With our patients, one of the things I'm grateful for is that we're able to still connect with them, which, a lot of them are so grateful that we're still reaching out to them, connecting with them. So, yeah. So I think that's been, really encouraging. That I had a patient, tell me like, God, I'm so glad you called. I was so bored. And so, people are kind of stuck in the house. You're not able to do anything. And so, hey, I'm there and I'm willing to call you and talk and just let's share and see how how our patients are doing. It's
Right.
it's a anxiety provoking time for a lot of our patients, but we're here for them to get them through this process. So yeah.
That's so true. I'm so happy for things like telepsych, and we'll get to that later on. But like with COVID-19, like a lot of people have started talking about, they're so stressed out. I mean, because well, I'm hearing from people like a lot of the issues is not only the fact that one, people are scared of like dying, let's be real,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Two, people are scared of looking at, girl, I haven't even checked my 401k. I refuse to look, right? People are scared of like financial ruin. People with businesses, especially small businesses, don't know what it's gonna like where if they're even gonna have a business at the end of this crisis. So there's a lot of stress out there. Either people know it or not. Like who like how I guess how like put it we know people basically will experience stress. We know that's normal, right? But how can people say, okay, this stress I'm having may not be normal. Let me seek help. Like, how can you see it in your children, in adults? Do you get what I'm trying to go with that?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I always say I like to define anxiety like it's a normal reaction to stress, which is
Mm-hmm.
good. Sometimes it's beneficial because if you see a lion, you want everything to kind of fight and fight
Right.
mode should like literally kick in, so you run for your life. But
Right.
at the same time, where we want to be mindful, this is a pandemic. It's not, I mean, like everyone in your lifetime, this is, probably the first major pandemic. I mean, it probably affects other countries but I think this is literally a lot of people, their first experience with it. So just like our patients and individuals as we are, it is stressful time. These are stressful times. And so one of the things you're seeing is patients already, of course, anxiety, as you know, is one of the most common mental illnesses out there. So we have like about 20 to 30 percentage of people who are already affected with anxiety. So yes, we expect that the anxiety would actually increase, not just in patients, but of course you're talking about children as well. I mean, parents are home right now with the kids, everything is going virtual. So it could be really, really like it's different. It's everything. It's different. This is like I said, your new normal, which it's could be challenging. So what can you do as far as in terms of this COVID-19 and adjusting to the situations? I think the first thing is staying informed. Now, while staying informed is a great idea, looking at through the CDC, WHO, you kind of want to be mindful, limiting your exposure to the media. We're talking about social media, limiting that to, the 24/7, literally. I mean, things are changing by the minute
Right.
as we're seeing
Mm-hmm.
it. So you kind of want to limit that, because I mean, I had my sister said, "Oh, I watched the news and I started panicking." And that is what a lot of people are experiencing, which is I watched the news and I went out and I bought everything I could buy and now I'm broke. So it's everyone is going through a sense of anxiety at this point in time. And so I think what the key thing is be prepared. So have a discussion with your family, sit down, let's talk about it. This is what's going on. We don't know if there's going to be a shutdown. We already seen there are shutdowns in some states.
Right.
If your state has not yet been affected by it, what do you do? So I think the grocery stores, pharmacies are still going to be open at this time. You just still want to kind of keep the mindful fact that, we're still doing social distancing. For small businesses, it is hard. I mean, not just small business. It is hard on everything. I mean, everyone is going to be affected in some way or fashion. It's because people who are sick who have been affected. So you're going to be
Right.
affected as an individual. So I think for the key thing to get or to just be is like stay hopeful, stay positive, stay healthy. Continue to exercise. I know you get creative if you can't go outside. If you're, like have OCD and you're already like a germaphobe in a in a sense,
My gosh,
get
yeah.
very creative. Just do things you can do at home. Understand that this anxiety is normal, and you're not the only one in this. We talk about trying to meditate more. Doing some mindfulness skills and just being aware of your emotions, being aware of what is going on with businesses. You're going to get through this. I think we all are going to get through this. I mean, it's a rough time, slow it out in terms of spending. You want to kind of slow it down with that,
Right.
just don't get into the hysteria of just buying, endlessly. I think the stores will still be open. Be prepared. At least we're talking about 2 weeks here if we have to be quarantined or if we're
Mhm.
isolated. So be prepared and just, stay hopeful, stay positive, continue to connect with family and friends. They're virtual. We have FaceTime, we have Skype, we have, all the media. But again, limit the amount of time you're spending watching the news because that will literally increase level of anxiety. So I think
Yeah,
that's for now.
no, I absolutely agree. I think one of the most important things you say is stay informed and mindful. It's funny because I have this one friend and I'm calling you out. You know who you are, okay? She's gonna listen to the her name also starts with a T. But but she was like, I don't understand how you can talk about this and not panic and not worry. Like, I don't want to know. And I'm like, listen, you cannot be in denial, okay? But
Yeah,
that's okay. You don't watch the news if you're anxious. I will get all the necessary information and I'll just feed you what you need to know. So when we
yes,
got the text about the possible shutdown, I was like, yo, I know you're in denial, but just so you know, there's a shutdown coming up. Go ahead and get the minimal things you need or
mhm,
go stay with your sis, like
absolutely.
and, and it's important for you to know yourself. It's very important for you to be aware of yourself. I'm the kind of person, like you said, I like to know the information so I'm prepared. When I'm prepared, I'm not anxious. I'm
Yes,
actually more anxious when there's uncertainty or when I'm not prepared,
yes,
right? So like
absolutely.
I know what's going on, and or I think I know what's going on based on what they're telling us.
Well,
you know,
that's all we can
and
take with a grain of salt, isn't it?
exactly. So, like my family, we've prepared as much as possible, even to the point of where are the passports? Where like we've like worst case scenario, best case scenario, and that works for us. Like my husband, you were talking about OCD. He's a germaphobe. So when you come back from work, here are the steps we take so you don't infect the kids and blah blah blah. And you know what? We laugh about it. And I was telling my friend, and she was like, "You guys are crazy." I'm like, "No, it actually helps us." And the kids are having fun. They think they're on vacation forever, even though they're doing tele school. Um, so I think it's very important to be informed and mindful on the information you get. If you're too anxious to watch the news or it makes you panic, get that good friend that likes to watch it 24/7 and just give you the doses you need.
Absolutely.
The
Doses.
clip
I like that.
notes. The clip notes. And I totally agree with staying hopeful and healthy. I've totally gained, you know how we talk about Corona, I mean, freshman 15. I feel
Yeah.
like I've gained Corona 20 because
Oh no.
we've been like eating up everything. And now we're like, okay, guys, we need to just eat the healthy stuff, the perishable stuff.
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
can deal with the other ones later.
yeah.
Staying creative and slowing down your spend. I think these are really, really good tips. I'm gonna put it on our website. With that being said, one thing we kind of talked about this, or we alluded to this earlier on, is with COVID-19, one of the main things we have to do as a nation is to socially distance ourselves. I actually personally don't like that word socially distance because it gives a negative connotation on what we really need to be doing. I really do think it's more physical distance, okay? Thank God this pandemic is happening in a world where we can be virtual. Like I'm talking to you, I'm looking
Yeah,
at you,
yeah.
If this had happened in like 1990, it would have been hell,
Absolutely. Yeah.
But we can be physically distant, but still kind of connecting to each other. Can you kind of tell us how social disconnectedness affects people with mental health and why it's important to kind of stay socially connected while we're being physically distant? I prefer physically distant from each other, and some of the tips people can use.
Yeah. And I like that phrase as well. And I think a lot of colleagues of mine were like, guys, the whole essence of psychiatry is to be social, is to be connected, is to stay
Yes.
together. So yes, it shouldn't really be social distance, but I guess they're trying to allude at the point that, okay, guys, no hanging out, no,
Right,
more than hanging
exactly.
out. But yes, I think we should actually do a hashtag on that to more physical
Okay, let's start it.
on that. But yes, with COVID-19, the whole idea is to kind of limit, in terms of distance with others. And so while we're trying to do that for our community, the whole essence itself is literally to be connected. And so while we're trying to physically stay apart, like from each other, while we're physically trying to stay apart from each other, we should kind of focus on staying connected. And like you said, we have social media, we have FaceTime, we have Skype, there's so many outlets out there, web,
WhatsApp.
so many things, WhatsApp, so many things out there to stay connected. So even like we talk about AA meetings for our patients who are in recovery, they've gone virtual as well. So
Oh,
even though, you're not able to physically see, your coaches, your sponsors, your psychiatrist, your therapist, everyone is reaching out to, hospitals, clinics, and they're reaching out to patients. We're connecting with you via your phone. I mean, a lot of people have phones, so that's really been
right.
helpful. Even if you don't have the videos, you're able to still make a phone call. If it's a home line, we're able to still contact you and check on you, see how you're handling and going through the stress. So yes, we don't want you to disconnect from the surface of the earth. No, we are not saying you should be isolated where you don't talk to anybody. We actually want you to do more reaching out, more like going online, connecting with all this different virtual, like, recovery centers, your clinics that are reaching out to you. And I think the same goes for children. We have a lot of children who have like, autism or going through therapies. And so a lot of I have patients who are saying, well, they reached out to me, so we can actually have therapy online with the children, because it's very scary. The whole thing is like, what do I do? How do I handle this? I mean, I'm not equipped for this, but really, you really are as an individual. And I kind of want to put out there, you are stronger than you think. And I think even our patients are stronger than they think. The way I kind of look at it is you have a toolbox in there. We've handed you this toolbox. We've been pulling things out in there. You've kind of been stuffing it in, but now it's time for you to like sort of pick it out and begin to utilize the skills you've used when you've seen us in person. All the things we've talked about in therapy is now you have to kind of, and, take it out and use it for yourself at this time. And I think in a crisis, situation as we are in, a lot of our patients are really good at, holding things together. It's not the easiest, and that's why we still have to reach out to them and try and connect with them, especially those in isolation. If you have an alcohol
Right.
use disorder, this is not the time to go back and start
Nope.
drinking, because you want to avoid going into the hospital if you don't have to, if you're withdrawal or intoxicated, and so they are mindful and actually aware of that. So they're actually staying away. But at the same time, the hospitals are still open,
Right.
if you have to go in, and, you're able to still get in touch with your providers. And so just to keep that in mind, that, we're in this together, we hear you, we understand you, and that's why we're trying to take us 10 steps ahead of you, so that we're like, you know what? The groups has to continue. So we're going to meet you virtually. We're going to still call you. We're going to do all the things we can. So I think the key thing would be to continue to connect, with your providers, continue to stay in touch with family, people who you trust, who understand your struggles or or what you've gone through. And so they're able to keep you in check as well. So I think these are like really good ways to kind of stay connected while you're physically distanced at this point in time.
Yeah, I totally agree about staying connected. And like I was reading somewhere, and I don't know where now. Sorry, that I could give credit, but I was reading somewhere that it's important to still kind of keep some of the relationships you have had, not only with like your mental health providers, but also like your friends. Like with kids, for example, like my daughter, we set up a play date with like three of her friends like around noon today,
Yeah.
where I'm gonna let her use my iPad.
Yeah.
Their friends are gonna be playing and talking. It's like 3 8-year-old kids just yapping away. I'll give them like an hour, just
Yeah.
so they can know that okay, I can still see my friends. I can still
Yeah.
have that connection with my friends. And then in that same article, it talks about make sure you call at least 3 to 4 people a day.
Yeah.
Like, just have a plan. I'm going to call my mom. I'm going to call this friend. I'm going to call this coworker. People they're by themselves. Just check on them too.
Yeah.
Because some people are not, they don't want to disturb you.
Hmm.
So if somebody's by themselves, you take the initiative and just give them a call. If they have FaceTime or WhatsApp or video chat, do that. instead than actually just calling. And if they don't, then calling is perfectly fine. So I think that's very important. And for like people with like mental illness and OCD, alcohol abuse, like I love that psych has been in the works for a while because
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
we can actually see the importance of
Oh
it,
my goodness.
like
It's
I just love the fact that we could just call you,
yeah. Yeah.
like
And
it's
it's been great. I mean, like I said, the patients are so grateful that, we have this implemented and they're able to, utilize it. So yeah,
right, right.
it's
And for
really
people that maybe were not previously diagnosed and don't have like a psychiatrist or psychologist or whoever they talk to, are there places they can call to say, I think I'm going through stuff. Like, who can I connect with? I don't have someone.
well, that's a good question. Um, One of the first people, places they can definitely call will be their primary doctors who can
Okay,
connect them,
okay.
Again, a lot of people are limited in like like visits to the
Hmm.
clinics, but they haven't stopped taking new patients. We haven't stopped taking new patients at my centers as well. We're still seeing new patients, but it's just matter of connecting the right way because again, everything goes through insurance these days. So another thing is if you have friends or people who already seen someone, have them reach out to the providers and ask if they're still open to take in new patients at this time. So there, I think there's still outlets out there, and I mean I can always send some numbers. I don't have one
Okay,
right now
perfect.
of
No, you can send it to me and I'll put it on our website.
yeah, of how to, stay connected and, who to call for and find out in terms of reaching out for new patients. And because it is stressful times, even people who were fine before are like panicking now. And,
Right,
it's kind of good for them to know that, there's still someone you can talk to help you go through this or to process everything that
right.
is going on. And so I think it's important to have like that kind of connection. But again, first thing is connect with your primary care doctors. They're able to still send referrals. People are not. I mean, the world is in terms of isolation, but we're not isolated. We're not. We're still
Right.
together. Yes, there's shutdowns. There are all these things in place, quarantines, but we're not disconnected. We're still connecting with our patients, and we're still taking new patients. Frankly, it just might feel different because we're not seeing you
Right.
physically. We're seeing you by video conference, audio, and I
Hmm.
think at this point that's just that having that gives them some kind of sense of hope. And like you mentioned with your kids, I literally had, my daughter as well, her school, they've gone in preschool and they've gone virtual as well.
Virtual, yep.
And she's like, oh, that's my teacher. And, she's reading to her. And she's like, I want to go to school. And I have to like, okay, well, really, we have something called a virus that is going on right now, so we can't go to school.
We
And
can't
try
physically go to school, but we're in school.
in school and just trying to have her understand that it's okay. She calls her iPad TV, and so I'm like, we're
Ah,
gonna have school on TV. She's like, we're gonna have school on TV. I'm like, yeah, isn't
yep.
that cool? So I think the parts we might have difficulties with will be the transitional phase. Again, when we get
Right.
past that. So I think at this point it's just focusing on where we are, taking it day by day because things are literally unfolding by the minute, by the hour. So yeah.
Okay. So basically, just to summarize, if you have any kind of mental health issues or concern, or think you have a new mental health issue or concern, there's hope out there. There's help out there. Don't stay isolated. Stay connected. Don't get scared. Get
So
prepared.
yes, yes.
That's really like the whole theme of this conversation. But before we sum up or wrap up the interview, I just want to I want people to know a little bit about you because COVID-19 is we're gonna get over it. I know you have your website, Dr. TolaTSarumi.com, right?
DrTolatS.com.
DrTolaTS.com.
Yeah.
And you have Instagram. I want people to know about you and if they wanted to connect with you, like what you do essentially.
Okay, yeah. So again, I'm a psychiatrist. I am currently at Harvard doing my fellowship in addiction. So that's again a different specialty, and so where we focus on substance use and the recovery process. So I mean, prior to the pandemic, we literally had an opioid epidemic, and
Right.
that's not going to stop in the midst of a pandemic. So we're still out there reaching out to all our patients, and so I have a currently license to practice, and so I do a lot of telepsychiatry as well. So, go on the website, drtolaTS.com. I also have my email, which I will send to you as well, and info@drtolaTS.com, with ways to connect. And on social media, again, at dr.tola.ts on Instagram, and just reach out, send me a message, and I'm able to connect with you. Again, in terms of like meeting as a patient, kind of
Mm-hmm.
establishing a patient relationship, that goes through, probably more with emails, and then we take it from there. And so
Perfect.
yeah, so I'm
So is
I'm
it safe
available.
to say, like, if someone was to listen to our episode and is like, you know what, I think I may want to connect with her, is it safe to say they could just email you and you guys can kind of go from there?
Yes, yes, go ahead
Okay,
and email,
perfect.
and we'll get you connected. It's always a process, but we're happy to connect you, with you, and get you the help that you need. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then before we basically round up, so we have our question we ask everybody. So these are like questionable, actionable tips that we basically give our listeners. For our Afropolitan Health guests, the number one thing I ask people is, what is the one pearl that is important about your specialty that can save a person's life?
Number one pearl, emotional connection. And
Mm,
that, I say that because that's the essence of psychiatry. We like to dig deep. We go in
right.
depth to find out, your biological, you're talking about your family, your genetics. We look at the psychological, the emotional, the traumas you face. Then we look at the social and how it's impacting you as an individual. And so, the whole, psychiatry in itself, it's been connected. And so staying emotionally connected with our patients, and while, they're able to receive the treatment that they do need. Yeah.
Awesome. And what is one thing that you were shocked to learn about in your specialty when you became a psychiatrist? You're like, what?
um, I think the fact that we are nosy, that's who we are, right?
I'm
They'll say
surprised you were shocked about that.
I know, right? I tell my patients all the time, I said, just look at me as this nosy person who wants to know everything about you. But no,
Right.
it,
But the more nosier you are, the more you can help. So
the
that works.
can help. Yes.
All right. And how do you balance your life as as a physician, a wife, a mom to twins? Like, what are the things that kind of help you balance your life?
Structure. I think, I've always been structured, and I can't take all the credit because I do have my family who helps out, and without them, I mean, it will be so difficult. So I'm here talking to you. I have someone helping out with the kids at the
Yay!
same time. So shout out to our moms who
Thanks,
help out.
Mama.
Yeah, and so just being, a lot of structure. I plan ahead. I have to. I mean, I'm constantly like I stay on top of things, and that's the only way I'm able to function. My husband, we're able to function together, and just paying attention to what needs to be done and taking it one day at a time. I mean, yeah, if you have to do like planning a week or 2 weeks ahead, it gets a
Right.
little technical, but just being able to do that, and of course, the Lord gives you the strength, and so with that, we're able to
Yeah.
do above and beyond, and so yes.
Hey. And what's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is He perfects everything that concerns me.
Mm, I like that. I
Yes.
like that. Is that
Yeah.
a scripture?
That's a
Forgive me.
scripture. Yes. That's a
Okay.
scripture. And so, I mean, I'm confident that whatever it is, I'm able to overcome, and
God perfects everything that concerns me. I love that. I have to put that one up too. I'm a quotes and scripture person in case you ever knew.
yes.
All right. Well, that rounds up our Afropolitan Health today, guys. Like Dr. Tola said, stay connected, Don't be scared. This too shall pass.
This
Thank
too.
you so much, Dr. Tola, on your
Yeah.
insight on this topic. And I hope you get people calling you, talking to you, if they need your help, obviously. And I hope everybody kind of stay safe, listen to the governor and the president and whoever your people are. Try to stay indoors as much as you can. This is not the time to be buck wild. This is not the time. This is not the time not to listen to authorities. With that being said, is there anything else you wanted to say, Dr. Teller, before we sign out?
No, just thank you for having me on the show. This has been really it's been a very fun, a lot of fun.
Oh,
And
yay.
like
Thank
again,
you.
our patients out there, just if you're anxious, if you're going through a difficult time, please reach out to us. Again, you'll have that information on the website. Again, reach out to your providers as well. And this is the time to truly adhere to the rules as far as social distancing or physical distancing at this point. Okay. And this too shall pass and we'll get through this.
This too shall pass. Thank you guys for joining us for another inspiring episode of LollieTasking. We will have all the information in our show notes. You can also go on www.lollytasking.com to see it. And if you want to be empowered by frequent health tips, follow us at Afropolitan Health on Instagram. And also don't forget to follow us on IG on @LollieTasker. Until next time, remember, health is well. It's up to you to take charge of your health so you can achieve your full potential. Have a great day. Stay safe, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us for another inspiring episode of LollieTasking. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please contact me via LollieTasking.com, or better yet, you can just send me a direct message on Instagram at LollieTasker. If you've liked what you've heard today, what are you waiting on? Go ahead and click that subscribe button, rate and leave a great review on iTunes. And of course, do share with your friends. Till next time, this is LollieTasking.